After the servo port is connected to the computer, search the serial port on the connection interface. Click Connect after the servo port is powered on. After the connection is successful, proceed to the next step. Export or import parameters in the backup and recovery interface. If no parameters are to be input, click the default parameters to initialize them. Set some basic parameters in the motor interface. Take linear motor as an example. Select linear motor as the motor type. Configure peak current of the motor, continuous current of the motor, maximum speed of the motor and motor distance based on the actual values. Motor performances will get affected if the parameters are too large or too smaller. Other parameters are configured according to actual requirements. Know these parameters are configured for this debugging. Find phase angle in the feedback interface. There are two modes available: the incremental, AB orthogonal encoder with or without Hall sensor. Select the one without Hall sensor for this debugging. Set resolution to 1, the number of changing signals per 1 and write them to the driver. Choose 8 autophase. Modify other parameters as your requirements. Click Find phase angle. After the search is completed, proceed to the next step. Choose the familiar unit in the sports unit interface, and then move to the next step. Zero count is selected for this debugging. 3 parameters can be set in the limit interface. The location limitation mainly affects I/O of the digital output. The speed limitation affects speed of the motor. The current limitation affects phase current of the motor. Configure the parameters as required, write them to the driver, and move to the next step. The function and polarity of digital I/O can be configured in the digital I/O interface. And the status of all digital I/O can be monitored as well. Know these features are used for this debugging. In the Return to Zero interface, you can select and enable the method and parameters for the return to zero control and monitor the process. For this debugging, 35 is selected as the zero position. In the braking mode interface, you can choose the method and parameters used by the driver to stop the motor. Dynamic braking is realized by shorting the motor. Regeneration braking by controlling motor deceleration. Write the parameters to the driver and move to the next step. In the display wave diagram interface, you can select operating mode for the motor and configure parameters for different modes as required. 3 operating modes are demonstrated: serial current, serial speed, and position mode. In the display wave diagram interface, select 0 serial speed for the operating mode. Modify the parameters according to the requirements, and after enable, click Start. After the motor runs, choose the record variable on the right and click Start Drawing to view the waveform. In the display wave diagram interface, select to serial current for the operation mode. Modify the parameters according to the requirements, and after enable, click Start. After the motor runs, choose the record variable on the right and click Start Drawing to view the waveform. In the display wave diagram interface, select 8 position mode for the operation mode. Modify the parameters according to the requirements, and after enable click Start. After the motor runs, choose the record variable on the right and click Start Drawing to view the waveform. If wrong parameters are configured, the motor doesn't work. You can view the failure type in the fault interface. After resetting the parameters, click Clear FLT on the upper left corner to remove the fault status. The motor roots and starts operating. Export the configured parameters on the backup and recovery interface for the next debugging. Thanks for watching.